Hello, in this video we're going to talk about fonts, because when you're making a Excel document, a lot of times you're going to want to have certain things done to the fonts, like you might want to bold them or something of that nature. And there's a couple ways to go about it. So in this we're going to talk about first how you could just modify a whole thing. So we could say cells 1, 1, and that would just modify this one here. So if we go to that, you can see it made that bold. So we'll go back and do that. So, oops, why did I not keep putting the thing on? You could also have it like I had it at the beginning, rows, oops, 1. So in this case, this is row 1. So you're gonna do this a lot, where maybe row 1 is going to be a header, so you're going to type rows 1 font bold is true. And then of course you can make it italic. You can change the color. So in this case I've got RGB 000. So RGB is red, green, blue if you're not familiar. And you can look online to see kind of charts for RGB to know where it is. But zeros across, if you think about light, black is the absence of light. So that means there's no red, no green, no blue. And the high value is 255. Not sure why that is. So if you wanted the text to be white, you'd make 255, 255, 255. So since this is red, green, and blue, let's say we wanted to make the text green, we could just do that. You can see it made it green. If we wanted a darker green, we could maybe cut it in half to like 120. Well, not half, but close to half. You can see it should make it a darker green. RGB is one way to do it. There are color indexes. They're just straight up numbers for colors. So there's that way you can do it. There's a lot of ways you can do color, but my thought would be to get used to one of them and then just always use that. So I personally like RGB because sometimes I do stuff in like Adobe Photoshop and stuff like that where we use RGB colors too. So anyway, and then we can have strike through is one of the I had it false, sorry. Just trying to figure out why it didn't change. We could have strike through. We could have subscript, which is subscript is like if you have like a note. So like let's say you have a string of text, and then you want like the user to go to a note down at the bottom of the page, like where you'd have text that's smaller and below the main text, so that you notice it brought it down there. We could also do superscript, which is up top. So superscript is small and above. So you use superscript a lot when you're doing something to the, like if you're doing 50 to the second power, you'll have that little 2 in superscript. All right, so let's go back and let's make these fonts all regular again. Superscript straight through. And while we've got this here, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. There's superscript, there's subscript, there's straight through, of course. So you can't have both superscript and subscript. It's got to be one or the other. And that'll become important in this next part. So as you can see, I had to type, if I wanted to make all these different properties, I had to, up here, doing it this way, I had to do rows1.font and then put all that in there each time. But if this portion here is going to be the same for multiple things. So you can see each one of them starts with rows.1 font, rows.1 font. We can do what's called a with statement. So with rows.1.font, and then we can add all these other properties to rows.1.font. So we don't have to type all this over and over and over again. So you can see on this one, I've got with rows1.property.font. Hit F8, go through it. It's going to make it bold. Sorry, I made all these false. Let me make them true again. All right, so bold, italics. Now we're going to make it red instead of green. We're going to change the font to this airborne font. So you got to, anytime you're changing the name of the font, you've got to put that in quotation marks because it's a string of text. So there's that. We're going to bump the size of it up to number 20, which is a little big for that. We're going to strike through it. We're going to underline it, and then we do end with. So now by making this with and end with statement, and we've talked to this before, they're what's called like blocks. So in this particular case, this is a with block. You know, and again, think of it like a parentheses. If you got a left one, you got to have a right one. So with a with, you've got to have an end with. So anyway, instead of doing it like this, if you know you're going to modify some sort of group of stuff and you're going to modify it in multiple ways, a with statement is going to be an easier way to do that, because you can see I had to do a lot less typing here. So anyway, that's what you can do with fonts, and on to the next lesson.